Okay, we're talking about illustration. So, a career in illustration involves creating original artwork for a variety of purposes, such as books, magazines, advertisements, packaging, and digital media. Illustrators use traditional methods like drawing and painting, or digital tools like Photoshop and Illustrator to bring ideas and concepts to life. They often specialize in specific styles such as editorial, fashion, character design, or children's book illustration. Illustrators can work as freelancers for design agencies or in-house for companies like publishing houses or media organizations. Success in this field requires creativity, technical skills, and a strong portfolio, and the ability to adapt to different clients' needs and project demands. So we're creating three different parts for this assignment as well. So the first one is to create a story scene. So you're going to organize your layers in groups. So you have background, a midground, and a foreground. Foreground layers include a variety of values, shadows, highlights, include textures for everything. Then you are going to create a character turnaround. So create an original character. It can be a cartoon, realistic, person, animal, mythical, up to you on what you want that character to be. You're going to draw them out from 4 different angles. Make sure to use guides to keep the proportions the same throughout the drawings. No stick figures. And you're going to create an interior or exterior with the character. So buildings with windows and doors must be drawn in 1, 2, or 3-point perspective. You have to have at least one object drawn in perspective. You have to include values, textures, lighting, and shadows. And then for all of your projects, you need to include your name or logo in the bottom right corner, save them all as a PSD file, export them as a JPEG file, and then turn them in with the reflection attached to the assignment in the Google Classroom. Alright, so when you're working on your drawings, you want to add value. So you could look up how to draw value, add value in certain objects. So you're going to add layers. So start with tracing them out or using reference to draw them out, adding a base color to it, adding shadows, adding highlights, starting to add some texture to it. So here, starting with base color, adding some flat shading to it, making it a bit rounded, and adding those highlights in it really makes it look rounded. And the cast shadow here. So we can see that with these two, tracing your reference, flat colors, adding some shadows, or maybe some midtones, adding that texture, and adding the highlight to make it look glossy. You want to think about adding textures too, so that could be different brush strokes, that could be with these small details, like the moss on the wood, wood grain. These are different brush strokes, getting those leaves and trees there. There's different kinds of textures, even with the shading. So is it matte? Is it shiny? Is it reflective? And then you want to think about what's going to be in your background. So you're going to have a reference picture for your background. Think about where you want it located. This is the smaller details all the way in the back. You want to make sure to fill up the space. And you're going to create your midground. So create it in the same document as your background, but create it in a new folder. Turn off the visibility of the background when you're looking at just the one layer. So we can see here in this midground, we have here, another layer here, and then in the background would be like the sky. There should be more detail than in the background, but not as much detail as that there will be in the foreground. And then you
should have like your subject or your object of the picture in the foreground. So again, you could get in the same document as the background and the midground. Create a new folder for it. You want to make sure that you have references for all these layers. Make sure you include the references when you're turning it in. Then you want to add final details, so the shadows, highlight, making sure everything looks like it goes together. You can use dodging and burning to add those in. Use the mixer brush tool or smudging to blend them together. You use the filters like the lens flare. Could add something on top of it as well. Alright, so this is how I do it out. I'm starting with the subject and trying to draw out how I want the drag to look, so it was a lot of space. And starting to add the background in, mapped out where he's going to stand, where the face is for the midground, using my brush tools to add some texture to the mountains, adding some value to make them look dimensional, using like leafy brushes to create the background texture of the grass and of the tree in the background, along with the water. I go back over it to the edges of it, adding texture to where the dragon is going to stand, adding some clouds. And then I thought about making it darker. So I'm a bit darker, but in my final picture, but it's okay. Because I started adding the shading of the dragon. Look how each area gets shaded in. Really adding some shadows, and then it's done. So when creating your illustration, so your character turnaround and your interior or exterior, you want to think about where you want to be located. Is there anyone else they're going to interact with? Think about what you want your character to look like. What are they wearing? So when you're creating your character, you want to think about the proportions, and I use your guidelines to draw these out. To make sure that you have those proportions and they stay the same height throughout. I moved mine over. So I used all these guidelines to help me with the proportions. was trying to figure out some of this stuff, I moved one of mine over so I could make sure I had the time right. You can move this over and flip it. Edit. Transform. And then flip. So that way you can just outline it, you know where it's to be, and fill it in what has the details. So first day I worked on this, I made my first design, and then the second day I worked on it, I planned out the rest of the design, and then the third day I refined it. So you can definitely see it in the face, making it look more realistic, changing up some of the lines to clean them up. So when drawing them out, your character, you want to pay attention to the proportions and relationships. You want to define the pose, sketch basic shapes, refine it, and then add details. Then for your interior or exterior, you're going to draw it out in perspective. There are a bunch of videos that you can look at to reference to how to draw out in perspective. You can draw out in 1, 2, or 3-point perspective. 1 point is like looking back at a room where one side is flat and the other sides maybe are going towards you. 2-point perspective is like standing and looking at a corner so that they're going, both sides are going towards you. And then 3-point is like worm's eye view or bird's eye view, so looking up at something or look down at it. So here are some examples, and the videos of how they were drawn out are linked on YouTube. So here's a 1-point perspective room, a 2-point perspective room, and a 3-point perspective room. Here's how I chose to make my interior. I chose a 2-point perspective room. Make sure that you add the textures, like a brick texture, you have the ceiling, lights, some shadow. There's a tool you can use in Photoshop to be able to draw. I have a template that you can use in the pickup folder, and you can use this to help you draw it out in perspective. And here are the step-by-steps on how to draw them out. There's also a video on how to draw out a room, including a bookshelf and a dresser. And so you can include the windows, doors. Here's that link to slides on how to draw it out as well. You can even add patterns in perspective. So you use edit and perspective warp, draw grids on the image and drawing it out. Then you press enter. Like this. And then if you want to do an exterior, so a 1-point example, a 2-point example, and this is also a 2-point example, but more freehand and details, smaller areas not connected together. And this is how to draw out a 2-point perspective building. And also how to draw a roof. So you can think about how you're going to add your characters in different ways to your interior. So I chose to add another character in to mine, but I just took this one right from my character turnaround. Think of different ways you could add it to your exterior. So if I go into the LHS Photoshop file, go to illustration and illustration 2-point template. I now have this 2-point view right here, and if I use the pen tool, and I press shift, right now I have a path. I want to make it a shape. make my room. Turn off fill. Make the stroke a little bit thinner. And then I just follow the steps on how to again.
Make my lines. I can't wait to see what you create.